Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about Spring JDBC. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Now, where this module will come, if you remember last day, we talked about one of the use case called registration. Use case, we talked about one use case called registration. So for registration use case, in the view layer, we have view, controller, and the model layer, right? So in the view layer, we have reg view.js page. So this is going to connect with reg controller.java, and this is going to call the service layer reg service.java, and the service layer is going to call DAO layer DAO.java. Now this DAO layer is going to connect with database. Now we're talking about, as we say, that Spring has a full-fledged solution in the field layer, view layer, control layer, as well as in the model layer. Now in the model layer, I'm just subdividing the service layer and the DAO layer. Now we're talking about this DAO layer is responsible to interact with the database. Right? This DAO layer is responsible to interact with the database. Correct? Now, if I say this is a DAO layer, now what are the different approach how DAO layer can interact with the database? What are the different approach how DAO layer can interact with the database or some other source? Now, in this example, I'm saying that I'm going to connect with database. In this example, I'm going to connect with the database. Fine. Now, when DAO layer is going to connect with database, there is different approach how DAO layer is going to connect with the database. One approach is that you can use plain JDBC. Plain JDBC, as we have used in core Java, right? JDBC, that is some provided JDBC to connect with database. This is one approach that you can use to connect with database. But it is not mandated that you have to DAO layer is always going to interact with database only. DAO layer can connect with some XML files as a database. So it can connect with some XML file. That is also possible, XML. So when Java is going to connect with an XML, then we can use different person like JAXP. We have JAXB, like this way person can be used by the DAO layer to connect with the database or XML file. The XML file can be data source. Correct? Okay. Now when you'll find an enterprise level application, some of the application will find that they don't want to continue the database for a long period. Okay, when you're using production environment, you have to take the license from the existing product that you are using, the organization. So based on the pricing cost point of view, based on customer load point of view, they can change the corresponding database. So in that case, this DAO layer can use ORM DAO layer can interact with database using ORM. ORM full name is Object Relational Mapping. Object Relational Mapping, ORM. There is some advantage of using ORM. That means you can, it is not, your application is not database dependent. You will get some cache support. You can make your application database independent. Right, so there is some advantage of using ORM. So now the question is that when talking about the Spring with database interaction, which one we'll talk about here? So Spring came with a solution. When Spring came with a solution, when it's using Spring, I'm going to connect with database. Spring providing two solutions for this. For this database interaction with the DAO layer, or any data source, it is not mandatory that it is going to connect with database only. It can connect with Java messaging services, JMS, or it may connect with some ERP application or CRM application. So for database interaction perspective, Spring came with two solutions. The solution Spring provided solution are one is called Spring JDBC, Spring JDBC, another is called Spring ORM. Spring ORM. These are the two solutions came on the Spring framework to connect your DAO layer with the data source. Correct. Now both you can use any one of them. Now from ORM perspective, as we already talked about last time, that Spring earlier it was under Spring organization, right? Now from 2013, Spring is coming under Pivotal. So another one organization. Now the point is that Spring does not have its own ORM solution. ORM provider is Hibernate. ORM provider is Hibernate. ORM provider is TopLink. But Spring framework, it does not have its own ORM. So what Spring do is that the Spring can integrate with some ORM provider like Hibernate, like Hibernate, like TopLink. So Spring can integrate with this ORM provider to connect with our database. And there is some advantage also to implement ORM. I already told you some of the major advantages, like you can make your application database independent. You can make your application much more faster because they support cache. And lots of advantages there for ORM implementation. So now I'm talking about when I'm going to connect with the Spring with database. Either you can use Spring with Hibernate, or you can use Spring JDBC. But since Hibernate is not part of our curriculum, so I'm just going with Spring JDBC. We'll talk about how Spring JDBC is used to connect with database. So don't think this Spring JDBC is same like the JDBC that we have worked on Java. Not like that. Spring JDBC has lots of advantage over our normal JDBC interaction with Java database. So in this curriculum, we try to talk about Spring JDBC. That means if I want to connect with database from a Spring framework, trying to connect with database on Spring framework, then how I can use Spring JDBC. Let's think about this scenario itself. Right. Now one very common question will come. Okay, fine. I'm going to use Spring JDBC. Then how I can differentiate Spring JDBC with our Java JDBC? If you have gone with Core Java, if you have done with Core Java, that is Java 8, and we are going. I'm talking about Core Java also has its own JDBC. It can has its own JDBC. But now I'm talking about. I'm not going with that JDBC. Already you're familiar with that. I'm talking about a Spring JDBC. And how I can differentiate between Spring JDBC and Core Java JDBC. There is some difference. Now see, I'm just saying some of the difference. Like if I'm going with some Core Java JDBC program, you have to load the class. You have to load the driver. When driver loading is done, after that you have to get a connection object, then you have to get a statement object, then you have to get you have to file a query using result set. So whatever it is, whatever task you are going to do in simple plain Core Java JDBC program, you have to handle two types of exception. One is called compile time exception. You have to handle compile time exception. In case of Core Java JDBC, you have to handle compile time exception. But that compile time exception is not there in case of Spring JDBC. In case of Spring JDBC, there is no concept of compile time exception. You have to use runtime exception. I'll tell you how it comes. Another one point, if I want to say, if you are going to with plain JDBC program, if you're going with plain JDBC program, then some of the exceptions you have to handle, like class not found exception. Very common exception you will find. Class not found exception, or you will find some exception called SQL exception. These are some common exceptions you have to handle. Class not found exception, SQL exception. Whereas in case of Spring JDBC, you will not find that type of exception. In Spring JDBC, you will find some exception called data access exception. Access exception. Right. So there is some difference, lots of differences there. I'll just give some example that we have done, if you worked on JDBC interaction with Core Java, you have to handle some compile time exception, but in Spring JDBC, you have to deal with runtime exception. If you work in Core Java, you are already familiar with this type of exception, class not found exception, SQL exception, but there is no such exception in our Spring JDBC. We are going to use data access exception. Now, what you are doing in case of JDBC interaction with Core Java? What you are doing here? You are creating a Java program, and that Java program is going to connect to database. Right? So, as a developer, you are writing the code. But what happened in case of JDBC? Or you, as a developer, creating the object. Developer is going to create the object. Developer create object. But what happened in case of Spring JDBC? Developer is not creating the object here. Then here the object is created. Here we are going to follow the concept of dependency injection. So the creation of the object is a task of the IOC container. So who is creating the object in case of Spring JDBC interaction? IOC container, right? So IOC container is responsible to create object, manage object, manage the life cycle of the object, as well as to implement the dependency between the objects. So let's see it. That is the advantage of a Spring JDBC, because here most of the task is we are going to use inversion control, right? That's going to use dependency injection, where most of the task is done by the container itself. So that we will see, and as a developer is going to focus on the application logic. That we will see how you can use Spring JDBC to connect with any database, particularly Oracle database itself, and with any database, how I can use the Spring JDBC to connect with any database. Fine. So that is our focus in this curriculum. Right. So let's move with this. Now, in this discussion, what we'll do is that we'll create one table in the database. We'll create one table in the database, and we're going to insert, update, delete, select, this type of operations we'll implement using a Spring with the help of Spring JDBC. Right. Now you'll say that if you see this use case that I've just given here, this I'm not going to talk about here view layer, control layer, and the service layer. I'm going to focus only this part, only this part. That means DAO layer is going to connect to the database. Only this part we are going to focus. So when we talk about Spring JDBC tomorrow, then we will try to focus the complete path. Now in the Spring JDBC part, I'm going to focus only this part. Fine? Okay. So for this, very easy to understand. First point is that we have to create the DAO layer. So how we create a DAO layer? Interface and implementation class. Right? So let's do one by one. Let's do the labs for Spring JDBC one by one. So lots of things is there. So I'm just doing all the things in one. Lab part. So first step one, what we'll do is that we have to create one project. Create a Java project. So once the Java project is done, after that you have to add all the jars. Add all the jars in the project. Add all the jars in the project. Create a Java project. Now here go to File, New, Java project. Let's write here Spring JDBC demo. Spring JDBC demo. Right. Next. This is our Spring JDBC demo project. So as you know, that first requirement is that you have to add all the jar files. This is the jar we need to connect with Spring JDBC. I'm selecting all the jars because some jars is there from IOC content also. Fine, click OK. That's it. Right click there. Now for this, what we have to do is that I should have one. I'm talking about this DAO layer is going to connect with database. So Java is going to connect with database. I have to create a Java interface and implementation class. Generally, use the concept of right. So assume my interface name is empdow dot Java is my interface. So if you have an interface, then I should have an implementation class also. Look out there. You can write empdow mpl dot Java. Right. So this is the interface and its implementation class. Sometimes you can, as you wish, you can use empdow mpl or some other name. Now this class simply we generally use interface and implementation class. So when I'm going to connect from download to the database, Spring JDBC use JDBC template. Spring JDBC will use JDBC template. JDBC template. JDBC will use JDBC template. Because this JDBC template class is the central for your JDBC core package. Just now I have shown you the package. This is the package. Required for Spring JDBC. We're not implementing ORM, right? This is the package jar. Because for each functionality we need a particular jar. If I'm going to implement a JMS service, I need this one. If I want to implement an ORM connection with Spring and Hibernate, I need this one. If I want to go for transaction implementation, I need this jar. Right? Now if I'm going to Spring Embassy, then I can go for Spring Web Embassy. The view layer I have to use Spring Web. So you can see here each and every jar is being provided to you. For IOC container, we have been given bins, this jar, and the context, these two, and the code. Right? Now we're talking about AOP. AOP is coming above IOC. Then for AOP implementation, we need this jar. So if you see here, which one you want to do based on for each and every functionality, there is a separate jar is being provided. You have to use that particular jar to implement that functionality. Now in the current examples, I am going to do Spring IOC above Spring JDBC to connect with the database. So I need these jars: bins, context, core, and Spring JDBC. Only these four is enough, right? Fine. Now as I given here that the DAO layer want to interact with the database, then it needs a particular class called Spring JDBC. Actually, this class will simplify the use of JDBC to Spring application. It will handle lots of tasks. Creation of resource of the task actually handled by this guy. Right. So we'll see how to use JDBC template to interact with database. How we can use dependency injection also. Here I'm going to use dependency injection also to connect to the database. Fine. So when I'm going to connect with the database, let me do from the backend side. I should have an EMP table. Correct. Either I can going to insert some value into the EMP table, or I can select some value from the EMP table. So assume I'm going to insert and select some value from the EMP table. So the thing is that backend I should have one EMP table. right? So we'll do one thing, that we'll first create an EMP table in the backend, then we'll move with this. So I'm coming with the backend side. So first we have to create an EMP table inside the database. So step number 3. Create EMP table. So if you want to create an EMP table, add EMP, okay, or update EMP like this. Control C, Control V, add EMP. If you want to update the employee, you can write here update. Update EMP, or if you want to delete the EMP record, that's right. Delete EMP. So for there you can write int EMP ID. Int EMP ID like this. So this is our DAO layer. Right? Now here I'm just giving add. So what we'll do, we cannot implement all the functionality. What we'll do is that we'll do one add functionality and we will do one select functionality. One add and one select. Okay. So if I want to select, you can select all the records from the table, or you can select a record based on EMP name or EMP ID. Right? Just right here. Public. I want to select EMP object based on EMP ID. It's going to return an EMP object, right? So we can write EMPTO find by EMP ID. Right? Find by EMP ID. That's it. If you are going to use find by EMP ID, it's going to return the EMP object based on EMP ID. So you can write int EMP ID. Or I want all the employee details on the table. We can use public list, and here you can use EMPTO and all EMP. You can implement. So this is our interface, EMP DAO. So I should provide EMP DAO IMPL because this class is going to connect with the database EMP DAO IMPL, right? So we have to go the interface implementation class. So right click class, the class name as EMP DAO IMPL.java. Right. So this EMP.IMPL.java, it is implementation class. So that means it should implement all the method that is there in the interface. In that case, you can write public .IMPL implements EMP. And you have to override all the methods that is being defined inside the EMP. Right? So override all the methods. How to override? Right click source override. I'm going to override all that. Though I'm not going to implement, and as you know that property of the interface, I'm going to we are going to create a derived class from an interface. I have to override all the methods that is declared inside interface, and that only we have done it here. We override all the methods that is declared inside the interface. So out of which we will try to talk about this method, how I can going to add some employee details into the database using Spring JDBC, right? As well as we'll talk about how I can see all the employee records from the database using Spring JDBC. Right? Okay, now here, writing in logic, we have to write some points on Spring.xml because ISC container is going to parse this Spring.xml file. So what should be there inside the Spring.xml file? Let's write. Now here, as you know that we should have a root element called bins. Now the approach that we are using here, we will use the approach of namespace approach, right? That same things we have already implemented in the last example, namespace code. Just go into that namespace code and copy this header part. This already we have written today only, right? Collecting the details from the so this is the namespace. We have C namespace, P namespace. Though we don't need here, we don't need this C namespace. If you don't need, you can remove it. But some point you may need it. You don't need, you can remove it. So you need the XMLNS, XMLNS XSI, that is representing XML schema instance, and then the schema location is pointing out to bins, and that is schema for the bins. Now when you given here, this is a basic. Now the thing is that, as you know, that Spring also versions are increasing. So the bins that you are using, you can use the bins versions from here. Spring bins. So here is Spring bins, where it is Spring bins. Now if you expand any check the bins version if they're given, if you come to this bins.xsd, see it is using Spring bins. Using Spring bins, right? Just I want to map it from where I collected them. Now this is so as you talked about, we are not going to use the grammar as an DGD. Always you going to go use a grammar as an XSD, and we have used that one only. XSD is a grammar. Now in this example, what we are going to do is that I have to create an object of a class, and using that I want to connect with Oracle database. Which class object I have to create? I have to create an object of the class called JDBC template. I have to create an object of a class called JDBC template. Now, this JDBC template class, where I'm going to create, that I have to create inside your Pojo class, that is begin impl.java. So create that JDBC template. Let's see here, I'm going to write. JDBC template is JDBC template. So if you have created, you have to import the C8 is defined inside what this we can want JDBC code, JDBC template package. So if you have created JDBC template, right click source, you can put date setters for JDBC template. Or right click source, you can create constructor also for JDBC template. Now this JDBC template is there, right? Using this JDBC template, we are going to implement insert method, update method, delete method, and select method. Now the question is that how you are going to map this JDBC template inside the Spring.xml file. Now here only we are going to the thing that we'll do here, that is a very important feature. That's why we are using this Spring JDBC to understand. So this emp.impl class is going to point to the database. Correct. That means I have to create an object of emp.impl. So how to create an object? Already we know. We have to create an object bin id equal to create an obj for the class name. Class equal to now the class is defined the pp package dot emp.impl. So I'm going to create an object of this class. Right? Okay. Now, inside this class, we have one instance variable called JDBC template. It's an object of JDBC template. So what I do is that I can inject, I want container to inject the JDBC template inside the object of emp.impl. I want container to do the task, right? Version of control. So in that case, what I have to do? I have to use property name. I can define it as what the name of the property JDBC template. Right? Now what I want is that I want this should be injected inside emp.impl. Container should inject it inside emp.impl. So I have to use a reference So reference should be injected inside EPWMPL. So what's the reference name? JDBC. Right. So for the purpose, what you are going to do is that JDBC template, IC container will inject, JDBC template inside the class called EPWMPL. Right. Next, what you want is that fine. Now what we want is that this JDBC template that I have injected inside this JDBC template I have to create, right? Actually, first we have to create a data source. Because when talking about this Spring JDBC support with the API documentation, just see here. Spring JDBC. This is the package, Spring JDBC. So if you go to JDBC data source, you'll find one of the class. Here, the name of the class is driver manager data source. We have to use this class, driver manager data source, create a data source with Oracle connection with Oracle database. Okay, that need to be done first. So create an object, bin id equal to, and tell me the id data source. So which class object we're going to use? Predefined class it is. Name of the class is this. Driver manager data source. Control C. Control V. So we are going to create this class object. Fine. Now when I'm going to create this class object, IOC container should inject all the value, driver, URL, username, and password. Then it will going to return that database connection object with Oracle database. Then it should return connection with Oracle database, right? So what you can do here, you have to provide all the properties. So you can just see here, all the properties is already given here. You go inside this class, try manage the data source. You can see all the properties are here. Talking about driver manager data source, and do actually just provide this property names first. The first property I have to use inside this name of the property. Use some name of the property is driver class name. Driver class name. So if the name of the property is driver class name, then with database I'm going to connect? I'm going to connect to Oracle database. So we have to provide the driver name for Oracle. That is Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. That's it. We have provided the driver name. Next, you have to provide the URL, username, password, right? So right. So here the value for URL you can right, JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon @ localhost colon 1521 colon XE. That's it. Right. Now talking about this username, so name is username, and we can use some value equal to system, and password is Oracle. Value equal to 1. So what we have done, we have created an object of data source. So what IOC controller will do, IOC controller will inject these properties and will create an object. Its name is data source, and using this data source, we can connect with Oracle database. So what method I'm going to call? I'm going to call a particular add method, insert method, delete method, update method, right? So assume I'm going to call and add employee method. Just call an add employee method. So I'm going to call an add employee method. Actually, in here I have add employee method, right? Let's see, add employee method. Yes, I want to call this method. See if I want to call this. How I'm going to call this method? I have JDBC template, JDBC template dot. If you provide some method for add, I can use update. I execute, right? Okay, let's do it. First, let's do this. Assume I'm going to insert a particular record database. So you can use this update method. Or this one, fine. Let me check. So I'm going to pass update, and this is how I'm going to call it. Then I have to call the SQL or some values. So I'm calling this update method using JDBC template. So JDBC template can call the update method only when it have the database connection injected. So what IOC container will do is that IOC container will inject this data source inside a JDBC template. IOC container will inject this data source inside the JDBC template. Now the question is that how IOC container is going to inject. Already you know what you have to do here. Slash bin ID and write JDBC template plus equal to what is JDBC template? It is a JDBC package, right? What is a JDBC package? Code. Check JDBC template should be here somewhere. Yes. No. Yes, JDBC template. You can see here what the different methods you can call using JDBC template. Lots of methods. Right. So we are using this JDBC template only, and this JDBC template is defined inside a package called this Control C. So what we are doing here, Control V. Here in this line, IC controller is creating an object of JDBC template. Right? IC controller is creating an object of JDBC template, and it is injecting this data source inside JDBC template. If I want to inject data source inside JDBC template, you can use constructor injection or you can use setter injection as you wish. So you can use constructor injection. Here it is constructor injection last we have done. Reference local equal to, you can write it as Control C. If you find, or if you want to implement setter injection, that also you can do. What we have done last time is that reference, or you can use, last time we have used in our example string rate of injection. We have already used in format, right? Yes, you can use this pattern. So name equal to this, and we can put the reference name as data source. Like this. Property, you can use any particular property name because you are going to inject this data source inside this. So property reference equal to control set just give me 1 minute. Okay, so here we are talking about this part. So here you can use either constructor injection or you can use property like this. First thing that JDBC template, it has constructor or property. In the JDBC template class, you come to JDBC template here, check the different implementation of JDBC template. In JDBC template, this is one is there. In constructor, it is using JDBC template. Okay. Now here we have different methods under this. You can call these methods using JDBC template. Right? Okay. Now here what we are going to do is that here I'm going to inject the data source. I'm going to inject the data source inside the JDBC template. If I'm going to inject the data source inside JDBC template, this data source, so you can use reference as data source here. You can use property like this. Let me check it. You can use the JDBC template in the ID as a property, Control V. Now data source is injected inside JDBC template. Now this JDBC template I have to inject inside emp.mpl. Yes. JDBC template I have injected inside this JDBC template is injected inside emp.mpl. Now when container is going to send a request, container will get that request as this object. Right? When container will get the object, this object contain it's an object of emp.mpl that have a reference of JDBC template that have a reference of data source. Right? So like this way, they are connected. So if you see in this example, we have implemented dependency injection. If you see this example, we have implemented dependency injection here. Right? Okay. Now let's come to our JDBC.mpl. Here we are going to do the addition. I'm going to focus on this addition method. I'm going to insert one row in the database with type of JDBC template, which is my requirement. Right. Now, if I have to do addition, if I'm going for addition implementation, now if you see here this update method, let's take this update method. Now this update method will take some parameter. What are the different parameter it will take that you can check from the API documentation itself. So if you see here update method, JDBC template, update method. Update method. If you see this update method is taking prepared statement creator and key holder. Prepared statement creator and prepared statement setter. So different parameter is there. Update method is taking string SQL and object argument. Okay, and then it is taking update method string SQL, object array, and integer array. Yes, you can take this one, and this is much more effective. I can take this update method, Control C, based on our current requirements. We can also use template. The question is that what are these parameters? First of all, what I want to do, I want to insert some record database. Let SQL string SQL equal to, tell me what I can do, insert table values. Insert into table name values. Here I have to pass 3 parameters. You follow the format like this. First argument, second argument, and third argument. So this is the complete sequence. You write it like this. Insert it into values. First argument. Second argument is, this is the SQL. First argument is SQL. So the SQL is done. Next one. Next one is object array. So what is this object array? Control C, Control V. What is this object array? So object array is nothing but the value that is going, you are going to insert into the database. So how I can get those values? So these values you can define like this. Obj emp dot, it is small n emp dot get emp id is the first parameter. Then emp is the second parameter as emp dot get emp name. Then your third parameter emp dot get emp email, right? That's it. This is the object argument. So if I get the object argument, then it's fine. Just remove this. Third parameter is int argument type. It's saying that the type of the argument you have to define. So let's take this type of the argument. Control C, Control V. Type of the argument, okay? Type of the argument means is that the first argument emp id is a number, integer, right? So define types dot see it, integer or number is integer. Second argument emp name is varchar types dot varchar. Next, third argument is a varchar types dot argument. Semicolon. That's it. Save it. Fine. Okay, so we got all the parameters. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, we are going to pass all these parameters inside the update method. Okay, so the 3 parameters came in the update method and semicolon. We will insert these 3 records inside the database. So that's it. All right, it is done. So just you have to implement, this JDBC template is providing lots of methods. Update method, query method. So just you have to see its signature is slightly different based on the different method signature provided by JDBC template. You have to implement that type of method. And what is the method signature and related details, you can get it from this documentation itself. Right, so we have just only done insert method and the update method, right? So you can save it. This is our Spring.xml container. Now this is now what I have to do is that now I have to insert one record into the table. So to do this, you can do one thing. You can create a resources folder, file name, package, make it as resources. Inside this resources folder, you can put spring.xml and create a client.java file. Client.java. From here, you're going to insert all the EMP details into the table. Fine. So if I want to insert all the EMP records in the table, that means I have to create an object of application context, same like earlier, right? So create it. See equal to new class path XML application context, and it is going to load this resources as spring.xml. That's it. Fine. So next, what I have to do, I have to get the bin. Where is the bin? This is the bin that I have to get. OBJ. So get that bin from here. AC dot get bin. Name of the bin is OBJ. And the corresponding bin will come like empdow ed equal to empdow mpl ed equal to ac.get bin. Just you have to type paste. And next I have to insert, right? So how to insert? Create an empto object. Empto obj equal to new empto. An object emp id as in 11. Emp name as Srini. Emp email is this@g.com. This is the that's it. So from where you get this empto object? This empto object is there inside a package to save it. empto, right? Now this object I have to pass here, calling ed dot add emp. I'm passing this object, calling ed dot add emp. This obj I'm going to pass as a parameter. I'm going to pass as a parameter. So this emp details I want to insert into the database, right? That's it. This should work. Let me check it out. So right click, run as style application. Now whether we have added JDBC driver here? No, right? So please include the JDBC driver also. add external jars, desktop, C drive. To implement JDBC driver, you can use Alt-C, app Alt product, to server, JDBC lib, and select the driver. Oh, I think it should work. Let me check if I'm getting or not, or I'm getting any error. So it is giving some error. Let me check what is the error. It is saying that invalid property JDBC template for the class JDBC template being property JDBC template is not writable valid. Invalid setter method does not type getter. So for getters and setters we have not given for JDBC template. Let me check. Here we use JDBC template here. So get JDBC template, set JDBC template is there already, right? Okay. So let me check in our this Spring.xml. Here we have created an ID called JDBC template. Now if you see this mapping, I have created an object of emp.impl. Name of the object is obj or star, whatever the name it is. Property you have written here JDBC template and reference equal to JDBC template. It's okay. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to inject this data source. This data source I'm going to inject inside JDBC template. So pin ID equal to JDBC template. And this JDBC template is a part of this. And it's okay, it's fine. Take this one. We have another one property called reference. How I'm going to provide the reference? Here. Local equal to data source. Now there is some problem with this local data source. This local is not allowed and to be appear in the element reference. So possibly there is some changes in Spring 5.0 with this attribute. Let me check. Check it. So it is in Spring, right? Now in the Spring JDBC, this local replaced with Check in the configuration. Okay. When I'm going to inject this data source inside JDBC template, then it should be like this. It has attribute reference. Do not name the data source. No. Well, I'm just checking it. Matching. It should work with this only. This data source should be injected in using constructor injection like this. Or if I'm going to implement serial injection, if you implement serial injection, property name equal to JDBC template reference equal to data source. Then this JDBC template I have injected here. JDBC template that we have used here. Let's see, it is named as JDBC template 1. This JDBC template 1 I have injected here. JDBC template is a property of impd/impl. So impd/impl JDBC template is a property. So it's okay. You can try once more. Right click here. Right click run and start application. So this is the error. Invalid property JDBC template in the bean class. JDBC template. Variable or has an invalid setter method, does not parameter type of setter method, return type of getter. It's correct. Here is the problem that it is saying. Just give me 2 minutes. It's correct only. IPL JDBC template object class equal to what is remove code JDBC template. Property name. Okay. Let's take it some other value. BS. And this JS we are going to paste here. Like that. So they are injecting here. It has a property called data source. Next, what you are going to do, I'm getting an object obj. This object is a class object of bmp.npl. And this JDBC template you are injecting here. Property name JDBC template. Select all. Right click clear client. Let's see what is the object. Okay, it is saying some connection problem with database. Okay, this is the connection. Driver is loaded. And you have given all the parameters correct. Driver class name oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. JDBC oracle thing localhost 1521. Sorry, number is wrong. XC system oracle. Let me try once again. Clear. Right click. Application. So I think this time it has inserted the value in the database. Let me check. Because I'm not given any such message, no error. So right here, select star from MP. Yes, are inserted. So if you see here in this example that we have implemented Spring JDBC database interaction from Spring framework with database. So for this, what are the extra things we have done here is that that we have used this Spring.xml file. That is the advantage because this is using the main concept of inversion of control or dependency injection, where IOC container is creating the database object and injecting this object inside the JDBC template class. Then IOC container will create the JDBC template object and injecting that inside the emp.npl class. And when client requested for an object for emp.npl class, client will get that object. And using this object, client want to do some task like client want to insert some value into the database. Then it is going to call add employee. Right? Fine. Similarly, assume you want to add another one employee 2. Assume the name of the employee is Haro and the email ID is for this. Let me check. Right click, run as Java application. So we have inserted another row into the database. Let me check that row inserted or not. Fine. Enter the third row, 13, and select another employee called and the email ID. Right click, run as Java application. Inserted 3 record and so this is for the insert operation. Fine. Now if I want to implement select operation, I want to select all the record that is there inside the database. I want to select all the records. So if I want to select all the record that is available in the database, then what I can do? I can use this method. Already I have this method, right? This method. Select all. It is find by employee, find all method. I can use this one. That is returning all the employee record from the database. You can use this find all method. So let's implement this. I don't think it will take a long time. Or you can use find by find, right? So if I want to do find all method, I want to select all the records from the table, and that is coming inside a list. Select all the records from the table that is coming inside a list. Find all. So what are the method provided by JDBC template for find all? Check. JDBC template for find all. Which method is providing? Query method is this. Query methods. So multiple query methods we have that we can use. So we'll have multiple query methods. Take this one. Control C. So if I want to query all the records, I have to write here JDBC template. JDBC template dot query. What I want, I need to select all the record that is available in the table. Fine. So write a SQL query first. String SQL equal to select star from EMP. That's it. Right now, this query method, check the return type of the query method. It is returning a list, right? So we have to take it inside a list. So you get a list, right? List of EMPTO type object, EMPTO list equal to this. So it is going to return all the rows as a list, and then we have to retrieve the elements from the list and get. Now here I provided already the SQL query. Okay, now what is that result set extractor? What is this result set extractor? Now this result set extractor is nothing but you can create it as a separate class that will implement row mapper. So what I will say is that let's create another one class here. Right click new class and use the class name as EMP row mapper. This EMP row mapper, its purpose is to retrieve all the rows from the database. So this EMP row mapper, you can write here implements row mapper. This row mapper is a part of your java.spring.jdbc.co. It's an interface, and you have to override the corresponding method. Now, what it is doing actually, It will take result set and number of rows, and it will return all the rows that is available in the database. It is taking result set and all the rows that is available. So assume all the rows, return number of rows as R. It will select all the rows from the table and return as a row mapper object. Okay, so how it will do? Assume you have empto e equal to new empto. Now, when you select some record from the database, how you are going to select these things? You already have done it in plain code Java. Now, so first record I want to select empid. Fine. So you can use set empid. That empid is coming from rs dot first column is int, get int to the first column. Same like that. E dot set emp name. Second column is the emp name. So this is coming rs dot get string is 2. Third column is coming as an e dot set emp email. That is coming rs dot get string as 3. So what this row mapper class is doing is that it is providing a method that is returning all the rows that is available in the database and increasing the R, and it is returning all the rows from the database, right? This EMP row mapper, and that EMP row mapper object only I'm going to pass here. This EMP row mapper object only I'm going to pass here, and here what is doing is that when I'm passing this EMP row mapper object, just pass it here, new EMP row mapper, this class object. So it is returning a list type object, right? Right, so return list, that's it. Fine. Now this method who is calling, client is calling. So this time client is not going to insert any record, so just disable this. This time client is going to select all the records from the table. If client is going to select all the records from the table, then you have to provide how it is going to return all the records. You have to use the iterated implementation, right? Because here it is going ed dot find all employees. So it is coming as a list, right? List of emptu emptu. This is reading a list, right? Now from this list using iterator, we have to retrieve all the elements. Start with iterator. Iterator it equal to list dot iterator. Or normal iterator only. While it dot has next, and is going to return all the rows. System dot out dot println Dot next. I think it should work. Let me check. Right click on our application. Okay, they're running now. So there is no rows. Yes, rows is there. So I'm calling ed dot find all emp method. So it is calling find all emp method is this one. Find all emp method is here. So it is running select star from emp. Emp is small letter, right? Yeah, it's okay. So the query part, you see in the query part, we are passing one thing here. Create list of empto. List of empto. List equal to none. Now here it is returning the value. Passing SQL query, select star from emp and new emp row mapper. I got the list and it is returning the list. Now what is new emp row mapper is doing? Implementing row mapper. Now this row mapper implementation, it is creating an object of emp toe equal to new emp to. And first emp id is a int, then a string. Okay, I have not returning the emp object. I have to return the emp object, not null. I return the emp object. So first emp object gone, then second emp object, third emp object. Like this way, total number of all the emp object will go in each iteration, and at the end it will return all the records. So it should work. Right click, run as our application. Yes, we got all the rows.